No, back-to-back years, Sam Darnold's competing for the 1 seed, could be in the 5 seed. Two teams that were slept on preseason.
The
Is he
question
the
is,
GOAT?
like,
Is he the greatest quarterback ever?
he simultaneously could be, I mean, I don't even know. Is he the GOAT of Woats? Is that what he is? Is
That's
that
Mac.
what?
That's Mac Jones. Mac Jones is the GOAT of Woats. Anyway, welcome to Two Down Territory. We're going to be doing our normal thing. We're going to be reacting to Week 17, talking about the Week 18 matchups, talking about playoff implications, the fight for the number 1 pick in the draft. Make sure to like and subscribe if you like this. Yeah, roll the intro.
2 inches short, maybe less. Story of my life. It's been a while since he's seen a hole that big.
If you say he's a bust and you end up right, it's not because you're some genius. It's because you got lucky.
How I feel, man? Tell me how I feel, El Freaky.
We prayed that these bird 30s would nourish us and allow us to throw the ball.
They got to go get this bread.
If you suck, you might as well suck with purpose. And
Okay, well, do you want to start by getting straight into the games?
I mean, I think that's the best place we have to start. Honestly, we can, with the exception of one game being relatively, I guess, Broncos beat the Chiefs. We can talk about this purely in terms of, the Broncos. I don't have faith in this team. I don't have faith in them against top-tier AFC playoff competition.
It's a bad look, for sure. It's a bad look. It's just, I try not to get into the, frankly, I think that the whole argument of, how much you beat a team by matters.
Mm-hmm.
I think that on the extreme ends, maybe that's impactful. But generally, it's not. There are other things that I think are a lot more important. That being said, we're starting to get to the point where it's okay, this is the extreme end with the Broncos. And so it's just it definitely adds a question mark to their playoff run potential.
And you won't catch me doing this often, so enjoy it while I can. I guess if I was to play devil's advocate on their behalf, it's on the road in Arrowhead, and it's a team that they probably were sleeping on because they're playing the third-string quarterback who's making his first-ever NFL start. And so, but at the same time, with how battered not just the Chiefs' offense was, I'm purely looking at this on the offensive side of the ball for the Broncos. The Chiefs' defense was banged up, and the fact that they were incapable of moving the ball for most of this game, it's just another. It's not this is a one-time. Ooh, that's weird. It's yet another notch against a defense that was average at best, and a defense that's certainly worse than the competition they'll be facing.
Yeah, 100%. No, it's not a good look for the Broncos, although this week they're going to be fighting for the number 1 seed in the AFC. One game I did want to talk about, the other game that I think we need to at least mention that happened on Christmas, was the Lions getting knocked out of playoff contention.
Well, that was the game that I thought really mattered on this Christmas day. I mean, were the Lions really in it? In a sense, no, but also in hindsight, the fact that the Packers get demolished by the Ravens makes this game look a lot tougher. But I don't know. We'll be diving in depth later on here soon in future episodes or videos about the Lions season and kind of where this franchise goes from here. But right now, my gut reaction is it's hard to look at this situation, big picture, and think that they didn't peak over the previous 2 seasons, at least in this iteration.
No, for sure. I think the one thing that we have to point out with this game, there's really 2 big takeaways. First, starting with the Lions, it's just true that, and because people are going to be talking about Ben Johnson, especially given the success that he's had with the Bears. And while I'm not going to come up here and say that when you lose one of the best play callers in the NFL, you don't get worse. But I will say that I think that it's not the predominant reason as to why this team is all of a sudden kind of fallen apart and now gone from the 1 seed to missing the playoffs entirely. And we've talked about this for weeks. It was the running game again. Detroit's offense had a negative 0.72 EPA per rush. And just looking at Jahmyr Gibbs, he just wasn't really able to get it going. He had 2.41 yards per carry. And, the Lions offense offensive line has been injured. The interior is new, right? It's kind of everything that we've been talking about with this from the offseason until this point with the Lions, which is that when they don't have the offensive line, Jared Goff is not the quarterback that you can rely on to produce consistently. You need that foundation, and when you don't have it, it's not good. Second thing, I just got to say, Brian Flores, once again, and it's been kind of people keep talking about J.J. McCarthy related to the Vikings. What people are not realizing is the second half of this season, the Vikings have been one of the best defenses in the NFL. This is just another example of it. Brian Flores has been cooking recently.
No, I mean, you have one of the best offensive and defensive play callers on the same team, and this team is not even going to make the playoffs. So, I mean, obviously it's a young quarterback, but really this season raises more concerns for me about J.J. McCarthy because the infrastructure is entirely there for this team. I do want to just really quick clarify on the EPA per rush. Did you say 0.7 or 0.07?
Let me look. It was a negative number.
Well, I know it's negative.
EPA per rush, 0.7. Negative 0.7. Yeah, it's absolutely insane.
So they lost a dang near a quarter of a
Almost
point.
a point. Yeah.
Every time they rushed the ball. Oh my.
Yeah,
I thought that was.
They didn't do often.
Yeah, but still, that's insane.
Well, they actually had 27 rushes now that I'm looking at it between Gibson. Well, both of them just not good.
Not good.
If you're wondering, that's the first percentile. According to the numbers.
Thank you for that statistical update, Adam. And then the Cowboys also to finish off the Christmas game, the Cowboys-Commanders game, relatively meaningless. But again, this game went exactly how I said, which is that these teams played each other close, but in the end, Dallas stupidly wanted it more, and Washington cleverly wanted it less.
Yes.
Then we do hit a couple pretty big Saturday games. It was a heck of a Saturday slate.
Yeah.
Texans edge one out against the Chargers in a game that went pretty much exactly how I thought this game would go, a slugfest. Both of these offensive lines riddled. Neither team could move the ball that well. But CJ Stroud was ultimately the reason that the Texans won this game. Efficient, 244 passing yards and 2 touchdowns behind that offensive line, and with how much the Chargers were rushing the pass, if the Texans are competitive at all in the AFC playoffs, it will be on the back of CJ Stroud, and he is proving that he is legitimately talented enough to do that. I'm not going to automatically, despite the Texans' offensive line deficiencies, CJ Stroud still is at the point where I'm not going to count them out in any team or any game that they play. I really won't.
I think my thoughts from this game is that it's a good litmus test for these type of success that generally the offense of the Texans has to have in order to win games against playoff caliber teams. So looking at the Texans offense, CJ Stroud in the first 2 drives went 4 for 4, 142 yards and 2 touchdowns. There were touchdowns of 75 and 43 yards apiece, both from their new rookie wide receivers. After that, CJ Stroud went 12 for 24, 102 yards, and 2 interceptions, with only 6 points for the rest of the game. In the final 3 quarters, the Texans offense averaged 3.2 yards per play. And I think that just points out the difference between scripted and then sustained execution within their offensive scheme. That game script worked out real well for them, right? Those first 10 to 15 plays that, you hear analysts talking about, pretty impressive. But the story of the Texans really is just what can that defense do? Some really interesting numbers. Let me bring these up. So the Texans defense have played multiple playoff caliber, meaning teams in the playoffs. Against the Chargers, they held them to the 23rd percentile EPA per play. Against the Broncos, the 31st percentile. Against the Jaguars, the first time they played, it was the 16th percentile. The second time they played, 22nd percentile. And then the Bills, 19th percentile. And in their entire season, they've only allowed 2 above average offensive games in terms of EPA per play. The reason why I'm pointing that out is to say it just shows that clearly this Texans defense is an immovable object, that it is good enough to where these teams or the Texans can beat playoff caliber teams and can make a run. The question is, can we have 2 drives where CJ Stroud goes 4 for 4 with 142 yards and 2 touchdowns? The game that sticks out in my mind is kind of the opposite of this, where it's like the offense was so bad that even with the defense playing exceptionally well, it wasn't enough, was the Seahawks game. At least in my mind, that was the first time I really saw how good that Seahawks defense was. But I also saw how good the Texans defense was. You know, they won the turnover margin by a ridiculous number. I can't remember off the top of my head.
They forced
The
5
Texans-
turnovers and won the margin by 4.
Right. The Texans had ample opportunities in the red zone, and yet they just weren't able to put up points. And the thing is, though, is I'm looking at it outside of the Broncos, I don't really think that any AFC defense has the capability to do what the Seahawks did. And so, ironically, even though early in the year I was totally out on the Texans simply just because of their offensive line, at some point, if your defense is good enough in this playoff picture, because consider that early in the season, a lot of the teams that are in the playoffs right now were not who I was expecting. And regardless of the fact that it definitely wasn't the makeup of a team that I would have expected. And so it's created this weird situation where the Texans 100% have the opportunity to make a run.
Yeah.
And play this style of game against anybody.
This is the exact game that even, you know, would it be good for the heart conditions of the coaching staff? Probably not. But at the end of the day, still, this is generally the style of game that they want to play against anyone that they face in the playoffs.
And because one thing someone could say, especially hearing us kind of talk down about the Broncos, is like, well, you know, the Broncos are the same way. Their offense sucks. They keep it close. Their defense wins them games. The problem is that the Broncos are having negative momentum. Like they are taking in negative momentum going into the playoffs, specifically related to their defense in the last few games. That's the first one, really, since the Commanders win, where they won in overtime on a 2-point conversion that the Commanders really could have had. The Texans are the exact opposite. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that the Texans know what their issue is. The Broncos keep making up reasons why their offense sucks. And it's all generally around one thing, main issue, Mr. Nix. And so that's the big difference there. But unless you have anything to say about the Chargers.
Well, the big thing,
Yep.
this is about what I expected. The other major thing of note from this game is that by doing this, the Texans have almost basically clinched the 5 seed, which means that they will get to play whoever is the winner of Steelers-Ravens, which is a good place to be if you're the Texans, because it's the
show is
by winning this game, it's the difference between playing either the Steelers or the Ravens or the Buffalo Bills. So it's a big win for them.
Yeah. For sure. Speaking of Ravens, I think the next game we got to talk about, Ravens-Packers. Ravens really stuck it to them. The biggest thing that I noticed, it was one of those weird situations, and I talked about this last week when Lamar Jackson got injured, that because they had a backup quarterback in, they relied so much on the run, and it turns out Derrick Henry is a good running back, and all of a sudden they scored points.
Well, here's the thing, Adam. Imagine being told going into a game that Derrick Henry is going to have 36 carries, and he's still going to average 6 yards per carry.
Yeah, it's literally insane. He had 307 total rushing yards, which is the Ravens did, which is the most by a visiting team in Lambeau since 1978.
Oh God.
Yeah.
It's almost hard to analyze this game because if you get, even in the modern NFL, if you get a running attack that's good, it's almost inconceivable that you lose a game
100%
where your leading rusher has over 200 rushing yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. Like, that's a stat where if you just showed me that one player from a box score, I'd be like, oh, you won the game. That's it.
Mhm.
And so it's I do wonder if the Packers, and this is not a good thing, but if the Packers sort of didn't care because by the Lions losing,
There's a part of me
the
that
Matt LaFleur is a young,
with you.
progressive, Sean McVay style head coach who, I almost wonder if they were boys were a little half-hearted and the coaching staff was kind of okay with that. I'm not automatically saying that that's good by any stretch. But
I don't know. Part of me thinks that a lot of it has to do with, because there's definitely a untangible amount of belief that a defense can have based on who your quarterback is. I don't know if there was a level of that going into this game. Although Malik Willis played really well. He had a great game. He's definitely adding to the idea that he should be a starting quarterback in the NFL next year. But yeah, and the Ravens obviously did have something to win for, right? Because now the Steelers, Mike Tomlin did his thing. Now all of a sudden week 18 is a big matchup. The biggest thing though I want to talk about with the Ravens is kind of back to what I said earlier, is this idea of they changed the offense based on who their quarterback is, but yet the offense was able to put up 41 points. And I want to talk a little bit about Tyler Huntley. I just want to go over his stat line real quick, or Snoop Huntley. 16 for 20, 107 yards, and a touchdown. He didn't really have any explosive plays, but he didn't have really any mistakes. This style, I don't understand, and I can't conceive why they can't carry this into every game if Lamar Jackson has a hangnail. Anytime Lamar Jackson might be impaired in any way because of injury, this is the game plan that they need, whether or not it's Tyler, even if he's in or healthy, I feel like this is the game plan that they need. And we talked about this last week related to the coaching changes and Harbaugh and everything. Why is this not what they did immediately as soon as Lamar Jackson was out? Why is this not what they did immediately as soon as Lamar Jackson came back, but was clearly still struggling? It doesn't make sense. I understand the principle that Lamar Jackson is good enough when healthy to take over games. I'm totally with you there. The problem is that, as we've seen, when you rely too heavily on that, and really when you're not willing to take a step back and say, hey, we have other guys like Derek freaking Henry who can make plays, why not take a step back in the moment and say, let's just feed him the rock? There are so many examples in this year where I've seen them just not do that. Where they said, oh, Lamar Jackson is struggling, let's pass the ball even more.
Yeah.
And it's the problem is that Derrick Henry is good for, over 200 yards of rushing and 4 touchdowns.
I mean, it's kind of the same. I'll bring it up again, cross-sport comparison. It's the Damian Lillard, Giannis Antetokounmpo thing, where it's you put the two of them together and it's oh, we've got Damian Lillard. Giannis is kind of struggling right now. Why don't we have him shoot more pull-up jump shots? Not have him roll. It's the level, it's that same level of, you have clearly Lamar Jackson is the most crucial part of this franchise. Obviously, 100%. He's the quarterback, and even outside of the fact that the quarterback position is important, Lamar Jackson is the show. Mm-hmm. This is Derek freaking Henry. I don't care if he's 40 years old.
Thank you.
It's the king.
Yeah. No, I think the good example of this, although even the Bills have struggled with this balance in the past, is the Bills, where you'll see games. And I think the best example of that, honestly, is when the Bills beat the Patriots, not last week, but the week before. That was a perfect example of, even when they were down, even when the traditional play calling would say, pass the ball because you're down by 21 points. I think it was a negative 4.7% pass over expected that the Bills leaned into in the second half, because they said, hey, what we're doing right now isn't working. Vrabel has the answers. He's coached this team up well to be able to stop Josh Allen. They're selling out for it. Let's give the ball to freaking James Cook, who's having an incredible season. And that opened everything up. And so this game plan that they presented, and it's not like the Packers were trying to stop or weren't trying to stop it. Like, it's not like there was a scheme advantage here.
No.
It was straight up bully ball. And
which Derrick Henry
business.
has played almost better than anyone to ever play the position of running back, and that's insane for this modern era of football. Like, he is the king of bully football.
My point being, I truly believe that the Ravens season overall, no matter what happens, other than them winning the Super Bowl, obviously, is going to be a failure in operations, simply because if there is one team that is built for QB injuries and, unexpected things to happen throughout the season, it's them, because they have Derrick Henry as the backbone that can do this type of stuff. And so it's just frustrated. I don't even like the Ravens. I'm a Bengals fan. But, it's just frustrating to watch mismanagement of such incredible assets. Let's just let Lamar get healthy. They could have survived that really easy stretch where they did, put themselves in this position without Lamar Jackson. Snoop Huntley did good. In fact, this year, I believe it's something to the effect of the only games that the Ravens have won against playoff teams or teams with winning records is when Snoop Huntley is starting. Let me tell you,
that is true.
It's not because Snoop Huntley is better than Lamar Jackson at the game of football. It's because they fundamentally changed their game plan to a more sustainable way of playing that isn't reliant upon a Lamar Jackson who broke his thumb, hurt his hamstring, broke his back, all of these different things. It's just so frustrating to watch. And so the question for the Ravens is if they can win next week, which I don't know if they can, will they realize hey, we don't have to rely on Lamar Jackson?
Yeah.
And Lamar Jackson can be the guy. Imagine if you don't have to rely on the 2-time MVP to win games. How sustainable is that as an offensive system? And that's where they are, but they're not utilizing it.
100% right. I think we've said all we need to about this game. We can move on to the Sunday slate. I don't know if you want to talk about your Bengals really quick. I'm happy for Joe Burrow that he's enjoying the game of football again.
I mean, biggest thing, shout out to Shamar Stewart, recorded his first sack. He actually has he's looked good, but the biggest shout out has to go to Cody Ford on his birthday. He set the record for the NFL, the heaviest player to ever have a 20-yard receiving catch.
That was...
It was pretty cool. It was fun to watch, Obviously the season is over, but
inspiring for us big men out there.
Exactly. Cody Ford, you're an inspiration to us all.
Aaron Rodgers decided that losing a game was worth it to not let Myles Garrett break the sack record.
Yeah, dude, it was pretty bad.
Okay, it was
a bad game.
I feel like that narrative is being under-discussed. The fact that there were legitimately plays at crucial points where Aaron Rodgers legitimately determined, I'm not being hyperbolic, that not letting Myles Garrett break the sack record on him was more important to him than a winning football play.
Well, and the thing is, the reason why that's true is because obviously in the moment, Aaron Rodgers didn't exactly know who was about to sack him before he made the dumb decision, whatever that decision was in the moment. It was oh my gosh, there's pressure, I'm panicking. It was hysterical to watch, personally. As a resident Steelers hater, it was a fun hate watch.
Yeah, I mean, I guess shout out to Shedeur Sanders for getting another career win as a starter.
True. Doesn't come a lot when you're a
Browns quarterback. Yeah.
Browns quarterback. Yeah.
I almost kind of want to save my thoughts on this until we break down, because I'm sure even in our prediction segment that we try to go fast through that, we're going to really break down the two games that decide divisions, that being the Steelers-Ravens and the Buccaneers-Panthers games. Just a poor performance, but at the same time, it almost kind of doesn't affect my analysis of the upcoming matchup. The games, the seasons come down to one game, and so in the totality of a Mike Tomlin season, you're going to get a game like this. It came at a bad time, but this is a game you're going to get.
I'm really kicking myself because the last 2 weeks I picked against the Mike Tomlin logic, which is that they'll beat the Lions and then lose to the Browns, because obviously their season has to come down to the last game in order to either make or miss the playoffs. That's just what Mike Tomlin does, right? Like, get 9 wins, but barely. Like, did I really expect him to get 11 wins? Or 10, like, you know what I'm talking about? So, like, and the idea of losing to the Lions or beating the Lions and then losing to the Browns, it just all made sense. So really, I'm just kicking myself because it's like, yeah, that's what Mike Tomlin does. Like, I'm not really a football spiritualist, but it's hard to deny.
I have some compelling evidence on my side, don't I, Adam?
Yeah, related to the Mike Tomlin weird sacrifice. What do you think he sacrificed in order to be the most mediocre team for?
I don't know. Like, yeah, kind of a poor sacrifice on his part.
Yeah. It's like there are some guys who, like Andy Reid, who sacrificed his health and well-being for his quarterback's ACL and his quarterback's ACL for 3 Super Bowls. Mike Tomlin did something small. He wasn't willing to make the ultimate sacrifice, so all he got was, 19 years of winning seasons, losing in the playoffs.
Did he sacrifice Mason Rudolph's skull?
Some of you may die, but that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
It'll all be worth it in the end, guys. We'll be 9-8 every season.
Every season forever. Oh my gosh.
Tyler Shuck.
Yes.
Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Potentially?
I'm on it. I'm legitimately there, separate from the bet.
I saw it. Yeah, no, he's like one of 3 or 4 quarterbacks to in their rookie year pass for over 300 yards without any interceptions with back-to-back games.
And I mean,
pretty impressive stuff from Mr. Shuck.
It's the most rookie wins that a Saints quarterback has ever had in that franchise's history. And he has only
Seriously?
Yeah. Well, you have to think about, one, how bad that franchise was for the first 2 decades of when it started, and then Drew Brees was their quarterback for 20 years. So it's not a huge sample size, but
that's true.
Yeah, and it's kind of one of those things where the Titans probably played one of the better games that they have offensively this season, and yet it didn't matter because the Shuckster.
They got shocked.
They got shocked. We don't need to spend too much time on Saints Titans, but think about how far we've come, Adam, to where if this had been a game that had happened in week 3, we would have been like, this is an affront to football that this game is occurring. And now I'm legitimately excited and care about Saints Titans.
No, dude. We're going to be getting to a game that's an affront to football, for one. And secondly, you have no idea how much respect I have on the Saints. We'll get to that. To that later.
Okay. Jaguars beat the Colts in a game that was closer than it should have been from the Jaguars' perspective, but it's a football game. It's, they end up winning. Good teams. I'm not too concerned about this from the Jaguars' perspective at all.
This was Phillip Rivers, probably his last career start ever, so I'm sure he was playing for something, and he actually played well. He had a little bit extra zing on the ball, which doesn't really mean much. The 2 notes that I had from this game, obviously what kept it close was the 2 turnovers in the red zone. My friend Jermaine Pratt had an incredible play where I think it was Parker Washington he was covering, or it might have been ETN on a wheel route. I can't remember, but either way, he kept up with someone he had no business keeping up with. And Trevor Lawrence threw the ball directly to him in the corner of the end zone. And then the failed, oh my gosh, what's it called? Hook and ladder play.
Oh yeah.
Which, turned into a turnover in the red zone. Other than that, the Colts played the Jaguars played a really good game. The biggest thing I wanted to point out from this game, though, is that so Lou Anarumo clearly was like, we got to pressure this quarterback, and they blitzed on over 50% of their dropbacks. However, Trevor Lawrence handled this extremely well. When blitzed, Lawrence completed 70% of his throws at 9.1 yards per attempt. And when under pressure in this game, he completed 60% of his passes at 7.8 yards per attempt. The reason why I'm just pointing this out is simply to say that part of the thing with Trevor Lawrence, because, he's always been kind of a streaky quarterback. Like, he goes through these moments where it's like, whoa, he's incredible. And then longer moments where he's not. At least that's how his career has been. Although I'm kind of in on Trevor Lawrence as a long term now that, my savior, Liam Cohen, is coming to the picture. But my point is that Trevor Lawrence, he's one of those quarterbacks that when he gets sped up, he just makes bad decisions.
Yeah.
That is the one thing that has really changed compared from this, new, elite quarterback play run that he's on and previous ones, where normally eventually he just gets rattled to the point where he loses all his confidence. I think a lot of that has to do with Liam Cohen, obviously, but really Jacoby Myers. We talked about this. Just having a safety blanket in the middle of the field that 99.9% of the time is going to be able to catch the ball. I think that's just a big deal. We talked about this before when the trade happened, just within the last few weeks, how Jacoby Myers slots all those receivers into their respective roles that they should be. And so now all of a sudden you have a really complementary, is that how you say that word?
Complementary.
There it is. Complementary wide receiver core that is not just good, but also like all of their roles make sense.
Yeah.
And so, looks great.
It looks great. Great to watch. I mean, honestly, probably maybe one of the takeaways, I'm kind of half joking, but this felt like a game where almost Liam Cohen was like, we're playing Phillip Rivers. We're probably going to win this game. Let me just bust out some cute stuff from the playbook and see if anything is worth keeping. Like, that's kind of what it felt like offensively.
That is kind of what it felt like.
But anyways, we can move on to another atrocious and disgusting Buccaneers performance.
Dude, what is with them?
I legitimately think that if they fired Todd Bowles like 2 hours before the Panthers game, they would be justified and have a better chance of winning that football game.
I agree. 100%. Yeah, no, I'm with you.
That's my analysis of the Buccaneers. I mean, losing to the Miami Dolphins, it's a sad thing.
Nice.
I don't know.
Nice.
Like,
Quinn Ewers looked good.
Quinn Ewers looked all right. I mean,
this was I'm sorry to cut you off, but this was just another game, like to your point about Todd Bowles, where I came out of it thinking like he just got out coached a crazy amount. Like, we're talking about the guy you wanted, Mike McDaniels, not Mike McDaniels.
Yeah.
What's his name? Oh, is it Mike McDaniels? Yeah, Mike McDaniel, not Mike McDonald's. I'm sorry.
I confused
Mike
it
McDaniel's
as well.
head. Yeah, you wanted his head on like a steak at the beginning of this season. And that guy just outcoached Todd Bowles completely with Quinn Ewers. I think the 7th round quarterback who was just like not that good in college.
Yeah.
Like
the last quarterback who was taken in the previous draft.
Without Tyreek Hill, like it was frankly an embarrassing performance. And then, Baker Mayfield just had a bad game. He had 2 interceptions, late strip sack. And it's what's sad about this performance as a whole is that when the Bucs started off high, there was kind of 2 schools of thought. The first one was we're seeing them win all of these really, really close games. And it's just the scrambling ability of Baker Mayfield that is getting them and that is making these big plays late in games. So they're able to win and have a good record. That's why the Baker Mayfield MVP talk was so alive. However,
and they were also doing it with injuries. That was a big part of it.
Right. And so that was the thing where it was like, so, some people looked at that and said, like, let's look at the advanced metrics. And what do they tell us? They tell us that this is not sustainable. But then the other side of the coin was, yes, but they're winning in spite of all these injuries. When they get healthy, they'll get better and they won't be in those positions. It's seeming like the other side of that coin, like the first side that I said is kind of where the Buccaneers are, where it's like, this actually isn't that good of a team. They just got a lot of good late wins because of Baker Mayfield. And as soon as Baker Mayfield goes through a stretch where he's not Superman, all of a sudden, maybe this isn't that well coached of a team.
No, it's not. I mean, that is ultimately, this team is not good enough to win football games when they are that poorly coached, and Baker Mayfield is not literal Superman. That's it. I mean, it's simple as that. The Patriots molest the Jets.
True.
I mean, Drake May, 5 passing touchdowns, 19 of 21, just hyper efficient.
When is Aaron Glenn going to run a 3-man front? And just no man, no zone, just read the quarterback's eyes. Who cares how many points they put up? Please get me an interception. Because, this is ridiculous at this point.
They actually need to play a 0-man front. They need to play prevent for an entire football game.
Oh my gosh, dude. It's just it's not looking good for Mr. Glenn.
No, it's the Jets.
It is the Jets. It is.
But Drake May played well enough to where, and we can discuss this a little bit, this game single-handedly already made it a relatively neck-and-neck race in odds. And then when Monday Night Football occurred, Drake May is now... The Vegas odds are exaggerating it slightly, but here's...
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Here's the thing, though. I do think it is Drake's race to lose at this point.
Yeah, do you want me to go in? I have a whole rant related to this.
Go on.
Should I go into it now? Go later? Okay, here, I got to pull up some notes real quick.
Oh boy, I'll sit back tightly.
Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about, so obviously, right, the MVP race has basically come down to 2 people, Matthew Stafford and Drake May. And there's kind of 2 schools of thoughts with this. The first one is that Matthew Stafford has a lot of the better. Oh, wow, you're really well. You settled in. Matthew Stafford is the better box score numbers, yards, and touchdowns. Really, is what that means. The problem is when you do any level of thinking, it starts to paint a better, more clearer picture. And when you start looking at the play-by-play efficiency metrics that take into account a difference between, pass attempts, all of a sudden it starts to be clear that on a play-by-play basis, Drake May has, in fact, played better than Matthew Stafford. So first thing I want to point out is that on passes, Matthew Stafford has 557 pass attempts. Drake May has 474 pass attempts. And so what does this mean? There's a few metrics that I think are really important in understanding play-by-play efficiency and impact. The first one is total EPA. Drake May is leading the league. EPA per play, Drake May is leading the league. I believe completion percentage, he's leading the league. Success rate, which is how often when the quarterback passes the ball, it's good. Drake May is leading the league with 52%. And to be honest with you, Matthew Stafford and all these numbers are around 5 or 6. And then the final one, which I think is arguably the most impactful, is yards per attempt. Because really all the people, if you're one to say that Matthew Stafford should be the MVP, there's 2 arguments. The first one is basically he has more yards and touchdowns. The problem is that Drake May has about a yard more in yards per attempt, which means when you factor into account the amount of passing attempts and the difference between the passing attempts of Matthew Stafford and Drake May, a lot of that, it starts to paint a clearer picture that Drake May is actually more efficient per passing attempt and gains more yards. And the other thing too, you might be asking yourself, why is it that the Rams pass the ball so much more than the Patriots? A, stylistically, but B, it's part of it is just because the Patriots have just been so dominant in so many games where it's when they're ahead, they just run the ball more. But I want to take this a little bit further because, like I said, there's really 2 arguments for Matthew Stafford. The first one is all of the box score numbers, the touchdowns, the yards. The second one is the easy schedule. And that's the thing that everyone is talking about related to the Patriots. And so I had a question that I wanted to ask. Who has actually faced tougher passing defenses on average? Matthew Stafford or Drake May? Because just because Drake May has an easier schedule, or the Patriots do, doesn't mean that on average the passing defense or the passing environment is easier for Drake May compared to Matthew Stafford. And so my first attempt at trying to isolate this was looking at opponent passing yards allowed per game. So how often does the defense, or how many yards on average does the defense allow per game? So you take each team's schedule, you apply, you figure out how many passing yards allowed per game for each of those teams that they played against, and then you average that out to get one number. And what it showed was actually pretty interesting. It showed that the Patriots have actually, according to that metric, have played a harder defense in the passing game than compared to the Rams. But there's one big problem with this whole idea. See, because the Patriots have such an easier schedule, what that often means is that the teams they're going against are losing games. And what do teams do when they lose? They pass more. And so obviously, if you pass more, that means, they pass more and their opponent runs the ball more.
Yeah.
And so the problem is, what if the average defense that the Patriots goes against simply doesn't have to handle the same volume of passes compared to the average defense that a Rams goes against? And so then I did the exact same process, but with yards per attempt allowed. Listen to this stat that I came up with. I'm trying to find the name. The final stat is average opponent passing yards per attempt allowed.
What's the acronym on that? Read that out for me.
The AOPYPAA.
Yes, Adam. I'm so proud of you.
I really nerded out. So the simple idea here is, again, yards per attempt allowed. You take every team on the schedule. You take the average yards per attempt allowed, average it out, and you can do it for every team. So here's the numbers, because I think that this is more accurate. The Tennessee Titans have faced the hardest defensive passing environment because their average defense allows 6.7 yards per attempt. Next is the Bucs, yada, yada, yada. At 5th is the Rams.
Okay.
And at 29th is the Patriots.
Wow.
So it does go to show, and maybe no one cares. And if you want to, you can completely skip this segment. But it shows to me that when you say, oh, but Drake May has an easier schedule, there is a level of, when you apply context to that claim,
There's nuance.
You actually can see it. It has been impactful. All of that being said, I still am kind of leaning towards Drake May as MVP simply because of the efficiency numbers. I think it's either 6 out of the last 7 or 7 out of the last 8 MVPs led the league in EPA per play. Like, that's a big. I don't think it's that voters use that statistically, but rather that it just so happens that the quarterbacks that voters choose seem to fall into that. Drake May also has more yards total. Like I said, the yards per attempt is a big number. Success percentage is a big number. I know he's had an easy schedule. He can't control that. And I don't think that easy schedule should be should hinder someone's MVP case.
No, it's become so neck and neck for me. I almost don't want to stake a claim in this until the when all the stats are in and I can really do a deep dive. But
personally, I have not made a decision. I'm just kind of leaning towards Drake May. The reason why, here's the last thing I'll say
you're
on this.
You're kind of leaning to Drake.
That,
I'm kind of leaning to Stafford. That's where we're at right now.
The last thing I'll say is that the easy schedule, in my mind, is counteracted by the help that Stafford has compared to Drake May. In terms of offensive play calling, offensive line is a huge gap, and and wide receiver core.
For me,
so in my mind, it's like you can't really measure that. At the very least, those two things counteract.
That's fair.
And they're just both a wash. And if that's the case, like, the numbers don't really lie.
That's fair. I think I will do a deeper dive on this, and if I do come down to deciding fully on Stafford,
We'll have a video before it comes out.
Yes, we 100% will. We will capitalize on this discussion. Don't you worry.
Exactly. But we can move on.
We can move on. The Seahawks do pretty handedly beat the Panthers, setting up what we figured would be the case. But because the Buccaneers lose, technically the Buccaneers could win, and the Falcons, if the Falcons win next week, it wouldn't matter, and the Panthers would still have it. So it muddies the water a little bit in terms of the Buccaneers' chance, but Panthers, they lost to the Seahawks. There's no shame in that.
I'm trying to wrap my head around what you just said, because I remember hearing something about this, but I didn't really look into it. So right now, if the Panthers win,
because the Falcons won against the Rams, even if the Buccaneers beat the Panthers next week, if the Falcons also win, the Panthers would still win the division.
Is that like a strength of victory, or
it's a strength of victory?
What's the tiebreaker?
And a divisional record. Because the Falcons are playing the Saints. And so if the Falcons, it's a weird head-to-head matchup thing where by the Falcons beating this, it does weird things to the...
Yeah, I'm just wondering I bet it's strength of victory. That would make sense.
Yeah, so...
Just because the Panthers beat the Falcons twice.
Exactly.
And the Bucks split.
The Bucks split.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But then the Panthers weirdly got swept by the Saints, but it's odd.
Yeah, whatever.
So the Giants at the Raiders, the Giants destroy them 34-10. I didn't think the game would be that ugly, but the Raiders are proving that they are pretty much definitively the worst team in football.
Yeah, good for them.
Jackson Dart actually got to 200 passing yards and won a football game.
Let's go.
What a milestone.
And he didn't have a concussion, right?
I don't believe so. Good for him. The Jackson Dart Triple Crown. Win a game over 200 passing yards and didn't get concussed.
Didn't get concussed. There's got to be some sort of there's got to be like a bright line. Like, how many yards can Jackson Dart pass for before getting concussed on average?
Yeah.
Because then it creates this weird situations where it's like, what is the average amount of yards that Jackson Dart has to get in order to win a game? But then what is the average yards that he needs to not get concussed? And hopefully, for Giants fans' sake, that there's this middle ground that offensive play callers can shoot for.
Yeah,
small margin of victory.
The worst case scenario is like he throws for 500 yards and the Giants still somehow lose, and he has 3 concussions and is like carted off the field.
Oh.
Hey, you got to put some confidence in Jackson Dart, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
Eagles slugfest against the Bills. Man, oh
Again.
man. Adam, what were your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, the Eagles sucked the Bills into a game that they wanted to play. Honestly, like, that's kind of how I felt about this game. The Eagles offense in the second half had 16 total yards, had a 3rd percentile success rate, 25th percentile EPA per play. Jalen Hurts had no completions in the final 2 quarters. And this was the second game this season where they won without a second half completion. So that's got to be some sort of record for Jalen Hurts.
It's impressive how bad their offense is able to be and still win football games. Against some of these NFC offenses, I don't know how, which is a weird thing to say, but that is where we're at in the NFL now. The scariness of NFC offenses. Yeah. I don't know. They beat the Bills and the Bills are good. So this is it's reaching almost impossible levels of me hating on the Eagles despite them winning football games against relatively good teams. But I'm still there. Like, I'm still able to do it.
Yeah. No, Buffalo leaned heavily on the run game, and it just didn't work. Like that front that the Eagles have was incredibly impressive. The Eagles also more recently, they've been doing that thing, that like trend that I guess the storyline started in the Super Bowl last year, where they had 5 sacks and all sacks were from a 4-man rush. They forced a fumble. They held Buffalo scoreless until the final 6 minutes. And the Eagles over the last 4 games, which, other than Buffalo, was pretty easy games, had 18 sacks with a 4-man rush, 7 more than any defense in that span. And so, Jalen Carter played incredibly, and it just came down to a 2-point conversion. I guess that's something we can talk about.
It was
What do you
ugly.
think about that call? I hated that decision.
I didn't like it either. Why in the world? Did you really have faith that the Eagles were going to do anything? Like, were you that scared that the Eagles offense was going to do something in overtime?
Yeah. Like, I just feel like it's one of those things where it's like, I understand the idea. Like, obviously the logic behind it was there, right? You don't want to risk either losing or ending in a tie. The problem is like, you have the momentum.
All of it.
At that moment of time, like I said, like Jalen Hurts hadn't completed a pass for 2 quarters of football up until that point, and you had finally figured out some sort of offensive success. Like, why,
especially with new modern
would you go for 2
overtime
in that
rules
situation?
where you get the ball, you're guaranteed to get the ball. I hated it, and then on top of that, it's weird because then like Josh Allen throws an ugly football and the game is over. In a 30-second span, it went from the Bills have all of the momentum to one ugly Josh Allen throw, and it's over.
Why would you risk that?
That was a poor decision.
One thing I will say about I think the Bills' offense they were more very negatively impacted by the rain. Like, I think that offense, like Josh Allen was limited, not just because the Eagles' defense is great, especially their front seven, but also just like you could tell, like he just was not able to make the cuts he normally can. Like he just didn't have his footing underneath him, and that clearly hurt him.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a lot on his mind.
I think it made the difference.
He's got a kid on the way. He's about to be a father,
Exactly.
We can move on to an all-time classic, though, Sunday Night Football. 49ers 42, the Bears 38. Heck of a game. It was the Dougie off. The 49ers hitting the Dougie, the Bears hitting the fake Dougie and saying, no. It was a classic. This was a fun football game. And all of a sudden, the 49ers are 1 win away from the number 1 seed in the NFC.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It really kind of makes me upset how the 49ers are just so good. It makes me upset simply because I didn't predict it, because I didn't realize that this could be the case. I 100% underestimated the power of Shanahan and CMC together, and how when CMC is relatively healthy and just gets the ball a million times, hey, they can put up a lot of points. And one thing I did want to mention, because, and I'm glad we're talking about this game after we talked about the Eagles game, the 49ers attacked the middle of the field efficiently and at a rate significantly higher than any other team in the NFL. And it just goes to show that even without George Kittle, this offense, and with Brock Purdy, who is not bad by any means, I think Brock Purdy is a really good quarterback. It just goes to show that the middle of the field creates sustainable offense. And if you can figure out ways to attack it, your offense generally is going to do well. Eagles don't attack the middle of the field at all, which is why their offense stalls and is not sustainable. Really what this boils down to, and I do think, spoiler alert, I'm probably going to take the Seahawks to win that game. Also got to shout out Robert Saleh. Just incredible defensive scheming. And for me, I want to shout him out not because of the scheme, because the truth is that the scheme is like what anyone really would do in a situation where you don't have a pass rush, which is try to dial some up. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like he's doing some revolutionary type stuff. Like, he's changing his game plan, but he's not changing he's changing it to a game plan that you would expect.
Yeah.
But man, is he lit a fire underneath his guys.
Oh, 100%.
And that's like the thing that I really want to point out here is that the offense is humming, that even without Fred Warner and even without Nick Bosa, who Fred Warner, I guess there's an off chance that he could play for some of the playoffs if they make a deep enough run.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 49ers, for disrespecting you. And last week I even said, I don't even know if they're that good because, they played a lot of teams in this most recent run that are not that good. But yeah, no, this offense provides a ceiling. And if the guys can make enough plays like they did, they made the one play to stop the 2-point conversion simply through the power of, Robert Sala's bald head. If that, everyone rubbed the head before they go out before that 2-point conversion. That's what happened. I saw it. This team can make a run. Is really what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why I put Kyle Shanahan on my current active head coaching Mount Rushmore. I mean,
I'm with you there.
Robert Saleh has always been an incredible defensive coach. I mean, he was an unsuccessful head coach with the New York Jets. What a surprise! I've never been anti Robert Saleh, and
me either. No.
Yeah, the 49ers are a legitimate Super Bowl contender by merely the fact that they might be the 1 seed. And if you're the 1 seed, I guess I do have to give you the flowers. I mean, it's impressive for them. So good for the 49ers, good for that defense, even though, I mean, they let up, I think, the Bears' season high, but doing what they can throughout this stretch. Christian McCaffrey is a dog.
He's so good. He's so good.
We can move on to a game that I was not anticipating, but the Falcons said, Jonathan, you thought that we lost our title of the most bipolar team in the NFL? Give us that back. And they beat the Rams.
Dude, it's like, why should I be surprised, man? Like, this is just what they do. It's got to be frustrating as a Falcons fan.
Oh, God.
To know that you're so close. Because it's like, what do you do?
Get a good quarterback.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Kirko Cousins has been kind of moving me lately.
Yeah, he does that, though. He tricks you. He tricks you.
I'm lying. He has not been moving me lately. He had one good drive.
I mean, this game was Bijan Robinson. It was the Bijan Robinson game
100%.
Plus the one. I mean, like, I'm not saying it like it's a minor thing, but the pick six. Like, Bijan Robinson and a pick six, you're probably going to be in a game even against the best teams in the NFL.
22 carries, 195 yards, and a 93-yard touchdown right after an interception. He had 175 plus yards for scrimmage. No, it's incredible. I want to talk a little bit, though, about the game flow of this game because I thought it was really interesting. So the first quarter happened. The Rams aren't really able to get anything going. Matthew Stafford looks uncomfortable. Like I said, Kirk Cousins had a somewhat like a pretty good-looking drive. So at the end of the first quarter, it's 7-1 Atlanta, or 7-0 Atlanta. Which, by the way, this is the first time in 10 games the Rams don't score in the first quarter. The second quarter happens. First big meaningful moment. Stafford throws an interception. It's too high and a little to the left in the middle of the field. My man, Jesse Bates, he's lurking. He came up to the line of scrimmage and then backed off at the last second. Matthew Stafford was bewildered and, he stole the ball and ran it for a touchdown. Then, 5:30 left in the second quarter, Puka Nacua makes this great catch and coverage, to like the 5-yard line. And then this is a guy who's, he's a part of this story for all the wrong reasons. Number 72, Humphreys, is off the line of scrimmage, illegal formation, comes back. And then Matthew Stafford throws a low throw to Nacua for the screen on 4th and down, and they punt. The next drive, deep into double coverage, Matthew Stafford throws another interception. Shout out to Caleb Ellis because he was moving on that play. But my man Xavier Watts came out of nowhere and took that ball. And then right after that, Bijan Robinson with one cut. such a beautiful run.
He's so lethal. I mean, his cutting
Took it
ability.
to the house.
We've talked about this before, but it is something special to watch. On any given Sunday, he can be the best running back in the football league.
100%.
He can.
100%. The third quarter happened. Rams start to make a comeback, right? They get a field goal to start the quarter. The Falcons respond with a field goal. Then the Rams get a touchdown. Finally, their offense starts turning. And the Rams, Jared Verse, baby, blocks a field goal and returns it for a touchdown. Puts up the deuce sign to the Atlanta sideline on the way there. And then the fourth quarter happens, which is just an absolutely crazy sequence of events. One of the big plays that happened, another penalty. James Pierce Jr. has been playing really well. Lines up offsides on a play where Matthew Stafford was basically dropped the snap. Atlanta picked it up. But on that same drive, it didn't matter because Xavier Watts, for his second interception on 4th and 2, jumped the slant. And, it's actually kind of interesting because it kind of brought them out of field goal range, because on that play, one of the Atlanta Falcons staff members got a little excited and the ref ran into him. And so it took him out of field goal range. The Rams made a big stop. But then, with 4 minutes left in the game, Mr. Humphreys, who, by the way, is a backup to Alaric Jackson, their left tackle, he commits a holding penalty on a deep touchdown pass to Puka Nacua. My dad has Puka Nacua in the fantasy championship right now, and he was so upset by Humphreys taking away those 2 plays from Pua. But 2:46, the Rams score. They tie it 24-24, and then the Falcons take it, get a 51-yard field goal. But then here's the thing. The first thing, and this is with 15 seconds left, Matthew Stafford has the chance to seal this MVP, in my opinion. And he just completely whiffs on Xavier Smith, wide open down the field, because everyone was paying attention to Puka. Just a bad ball with 15 seconds left.
Yeah, I appreciated the game recap there. I really felt like I was reliving it.
Well, it's just like this particular game, it was like a full-on story.
It was. No, it really was.
And I'm not even done. Then, deep pass to Tutu Atwell. He dropped it. The refs made a terrible no call on the pass interference. It was clearly, even Terry knew it was a pass interference. He let everyone, I don't know if it was, is it Terry McCullen?
Yeah.
I don't know. Whoever, the guy, the rules analyst was like, nah, that's a pass interference. They missed it. And then with 5 seconds left to really just put the icing on the cake, Puka Nacua made an incredible catch that was ruled incomplete. Terrible call. I hate this rule. It was a good call because that's how the rules read, but I hate the rule.
Oh, yeah.
I hate the rule.
It was, honestly, say that gets ruled a completion in an alternate universe and then they go on to win the game. Honestly, one of the greatest catches of all time with the context added on. Just 100%.
Absolutely.
Genuinely, that blew my mind that
I was shocked.
Like,
the concept
didn't technically catch it, but he really did.
That the concept that possession is not what defines whether or not you caught it, but simply control. Because basically what happened was Puka Nacua had the ball in one hand, clearly had possession of the ball and control of the ball, got 2 feet in, but then out of bounds has to maintain the ground, which that alone doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because it's like, you're out of bounds. Like, you're no longer in the field of play. Why do you have to survive the ground? But if it's not just that, when he survived the ground, the ball didn't hit the ground. It wasn't one of those things where he was catching it low and his body was like facing to the ground. It was that in his hands, it moved. It never touched the ground. It was clearly in his possession, but it moved in his hands. That is a ridiculous. How can you ask anybody and say, did he catch that ball? Does he have control? Does he have possession of that ball? Anyone ever would always say, of course he did. Because guess what? The ball is in his hands.
Yeah.
But it moved. this much. And that was enough to make an incomplete pass. It was absolutely ridiculous, and it pissed me off to no end.
100%. It would have gone down as one of the greater catches of all time with context. So,
real quick, are you nervous about the Rams at all because they lost the last 2 games?
Kind of. I hate to
Me
say.
too. I don't really know how I feel because I don't think this will impact my picks. You know what I mean?
It certainly makes them me question,
Harder.
depending on the
Yeah.
matchup. I will have more doubt in my mind when I still probably inevitably pick them to beat whoever they're up against.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Anyway, but we can move on.
No, that's a question worth asking. That was week 17 in the books, Adam. We're coming up on the last week of the NFL regular season. Can you believe it?
Crazy, dude. It's been a really good season.
Some games that have some major impact this week, some games that mean absolutely nothing. So,
yeah,
we can start off right away. First game that is one of the games that we book in this week. The in terms of the scheduling, the way it's laid out, the first game of the week is a divisional game that decides who's in and who's out, and the last game of the week. Panthers at Buccaneers. Adam, who do you have?
Yeah, so this one, I really went back and forth. Part of me thinks, there's the historical precedent related to, just the Bucs and how they've won all these games. I really do think that the Buccaneers are just on a really bad path right now. I don't think that Baker Mayfield is playing with confidence. I think that Ted Bowl can easily get outcoached by Canales. Obviously, the Panthers already beat them, which actually makes me want to lean Buccaneers a little bit more. But I just feel like the Panthers want it more. I envision a game where the Panthers, and this isn't really analysis. It's just kind of I just kind of have this feeling that Bryce Young is going to come out confident. I think Nick Foles is obviously going to be coaching for his life. And so he's going to be sending all of the blitz, all of this, everything, all of this crazy stunts. But at the end of the day, they're going to be able to run the ball and they're going to make the stops. And so I'm going with the Panthers.
I'm tentatively picking the Panthers as well. I do think the objectively funniest thing that could happen is the Panthers break this losing streak, win this game, but then the Falcons beat the Saints, and so they still miss the playoffs. I think that would be the funniest way for this season to end for them.
Wait, so the way it would work, if the Falcons beat the Saints, because the Panthers would have a better record.
No. It's about if the Buccaneers win.
Why am I?
If the Buccaneers win, they will still miss the playoffs if the Falcons win.
The Buccaneers, you mean?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. That I thought you said the opposite just then.
No.
Okay.
No.
Cool.
That's
We're
what I'm
on
saying.
the same page.
I'm picking the the Panthers. Goodness, that's awesome. The worst football team you could ever conceive of.
Ever imagine. Panthers.
The Panthers win this game.
Just a black cat with a pirate hat on.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, you're picking the Panthers to win this game, but you're right. It would be funny if the Bucs won and then
still missed the playoffs.
Ended up. Yeah.
Seahawks at 49ers. Another major game, the difference between the 5 seed and the 1 seed in the NFC.
Yeah. Man, dude. It's one of those things where it's first off, what a coaching matchup, right? Mike McDonald, Shanahan, rematch from the beginning of the season where it was a close game, but the teams were just so different. Then I just got to go with Seattle. I just I know that the 49ers have been able to survive the lack of a pass rush and they've been able to generate some. I just don't see a world where this becomes a situation. I know the 49ers are going to be able to score points, but I think the Seahawks will too. I don't think this is one of those situations where Sam Darnold is going to be in the, seeing ghost type of games. And so I just have to go with Seattle. I have to go with my guy here.
That's entirely fair analysis. I also have to go with my gut here and say that I believe in history, and I think for back-to-back seasons, Sam Darnold will have the 1 seed on the line and lose.
And yeah,
I
crazy.
I am I have no. I could go either way on this game, but your gut is leaning Seahawks. My gut is leaning
Well,
49ers.
that sucks because 9 times out of 10, when I go with my gut, I'm wrong. But when I use my head, I'm right. And when you go with your gut, you're right. And when you use your head, you're not always right.
You know, that's what you tune in for, folks. That's what you get here.
Yeah.
Adam, Saints at Falcons.
Dude, I am a shuckster at heart. I'm picking the Saints, baby.
Let's go.
I just feel like, listen, it's one of those things, and not only am I picking the Saints, but they're my upset alert, too.
Dang it, they're mine as well.
Dude, listen, here's the thing. Is it not Falcons to beat the Rams and then lose to the Saints? And is it not Saints to win a divisional game they have no business winning? Like, that's
Adam,
just how the season has gone. Like,
I also just realized that we didn't introduce the point system here.
oh, good point. Yeah, let's do it.
So, folks, real quick, we aren't just predicting these games randomly. We do assign points to this. We predict every single game. If you get the game right, you get 1 point. If you get it wrong, you get no points, but you get an upset alert. If a team's an underdog by 2.5 or more points, you could pick them to either cover the spread, and if you get it right, you get 3 points, or you can pick them to outright win, in which case you get 3 points and however much the spread was. Adam, last week I had 14 points. I'm currently sitting at 181. You had 5 points and you're at 179. So I have a 2-point lead.
Dude. Yeah, dude. It was the 14. I still like my picking the Bears in that upset alert, but you know, couldn't get the 2-point conversion. I'm not mad at that at all.
That's entirely fair. But we both have the same upset alert, which means this 2-point lead that I have is going to come down to the margins. We've already split on one game, 49ers and Seahawks. We can move to Browns at Bengals.
Yeah, I think the Bengals will win. I just think Myles Garrett is going to get a sack.
That would be a very Joe Burrow thing. Like, he gets a win, but he also has the all-time sack record broken against him. That's a very Joe Burrow thing.
Which I personally don't feel like that's that big of a deal. Like, I
really
don't know why. I get it with the Steelers to a certain extent, simply because of the history with Myles Garrett.
Yes.
But I could easily envision a world with, like, the whole Brett Favre Strahan thing. Like, I don't think Joe Burrow and Myles Garrett, I don't know if they're buddy, but I don't think there's like any inherent negative feelings towards each other.
I think he will break the record this game. Another meaningless game, Packers at Vikings.
Yeah. So what's tough about this game is, like, you don't know exactly, like, who's going to start for the Packers. Like, right now, the Vikings are favored by -6.5.
Well, I think the Packers are going to rest just about everyone. Jordan Love's not going to play.
So I have the Vikings for that reason.
I had the exact same thought, but in my gut, this is one of those games where I still feel like the Packers are going to win it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I'm gonna split with you, and I'm gonna say that the Packers take this one. Cowboys at Giants. This is a meaningless game, but a bit easier to predict. The Cowboys will do the stupid thing and want to win, and the Giants will do the smart 100%. Thing and not want to win.
I'm with you. I have Dallas.
Titans at Jaguars. A game that is not meaningless in the sense that the Jaguars, in a world in which they win and the Broncos lose, they would jump the Broncos and become the 2 seed.
And the Patriots would have to lose too and they can be the 1 seed.
But technically,
definitely a game that matters.
There's no way that the Jaguars conceivably lose this game. I'm picking Jacksonville.
Yep, I'm with you.
Colts at Texans. Another game that it matters for the Texans in the sense of maintaining that 5 seed so they can play whoever the AFC North winner is.
Yep. I think, I don't know. call me a Riley Leonard doubter, but I'm taking the Texans.
You're not a big Notre Dame quarterback fan?
No, believe it or not.
When was the last time a Notre Dame quarterback succeeded in the NFL? I think never. That's just
Yeah, I
a
have
random
no idea.
aside. Jets at Bills.
I'm taking the Bills, man.
I am as well, although it would be hilarious, despite the Bills winning, if the Jets do get their first interception of the season against Josh Allen. That would be poetic.
Yeah.
Lions at Bears, a game that's...
Yeah. This is hard for me,
It is, because the Lions have nothing to play for, and the Bears actually do have seeding to play for. I still weirdly feel like the Lions could win.
I just feel like that the Lions are not going to be like, this is Dan Campbell's team. Like,
Yeah.
they're not going to give up. Like, they're going to be playing for pride. And I still believe, everything we've been saying for the last few weeks of, I know the Lions aren't in the playoffs, but if they somehow make it, they could pull it off. Like, they can make a run simply because of their offensive potential. I'm going with the Lions. I'm going with my gut here.
I promise I'm not copying you just to maintain a lead. I'm also picking the Lions.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Chargers at Broncos, a game...
The Broncos, dude. The Chargers aren't playing their starters. Trey Lance is going to play.
Yeah, I'm picking the Broncos, obviously, but
It could be close.
It could weirdly be
Almost
close.
assuredly will be. Well,
Yeah.
wait. Did I mess up? What's the spread? Oh, I should have picked the Chargers to cover. It's 12.5. Like, there's no way that the Broncos cover that, or that the Chargers don't cover that spread.
That is probably true. But we balled out and we showed our Shuck support. We're true Shucksters.
It's true. We did.
Chiefs at Raiders. Ow. Owie.
Yeah, I guess the Chiefs.
How far that I have fallen. But yes,
Yeah.
that is my pick, is I guess the Chiefs.
I guess. I just feel like, come on, like the Raiders are.
If you had told me
Like,
if you had told me before the season that the Chiefs would be playing their third string quarterback against the Raiders in week 18, I'd be like, oh, it's because we have the 1 seed clinched. Nope. That's not why.